Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. Today's episode comes to us directly from Simon Black. If you don't know Simon Black or know of him, he publishes the wildly popular Sovereign Man newsletter. The year was 1967. Ronald Reagan had just become governor of California. Aretha Franklin was belting out respect on the radio. And Marxist revolutionary Che Guevara was captured and executed in Bolivia. A restaurant chain called White Spot opened its newest location in Denver, Colorado. It was a popular diner. The White Spot served pancakes and milkshakes to customers for decades. The ownership of the Denver location eventually changed hands when an entrepreneur named Tom Messina bought the diner in 1999. He changed the name from the White Spot to Tom's Diner, and he's been serving Denver customers for the last 20 years. But Tom recently turned 60, and he's thinking about retirement. After 2 decades of cracking eggs and frying bacon, he's ready to spend more time with his family. Unfortunately for Tom, he's sitting on an extremely valuable asset, his real estate. Tom's Diner is located in downtown Denver in an area that's been heavily redeveloped. Decades ago, the land wasn't worth very much, but in recent years, Denver has become one of the fastest growing cities in the country. Property prices have skyrocketed. In fact, a local real estate developer offered Tom nearly $5 million for his land. It's an ideal spot to build a condominium given how popular downtown Denver has become. $5 million is a good chunk of money for anyone, and certainly more than enough for Tom to retire comfortably. And that's when a handful of whiny activists stepped and stomped all over Tom's retirement dream. After hearing about the deal, 5 local residents filed an application with the city to have Tom's Diner declared a historic landmark. And if granted, historic status would mean that the diner would be frozen in time forever, could not be demolished or redeveloped into condos. Historic status would effectively render Tom's land completely worthless. No real estate developer would ever pay him top dollar for land that can't be redeveloped. And that's tantamount to theft. The city and a handful of idiotic activists stealing nearly $5 million worth of value. This is pretty remarkable when you think about it. It's not like the land was some sacred Indian burial ground, or that Tom wanted to turn the property into a nuclear waste dump. It's just a diner. Yet still, all it took was 5 people to put together a petition and complain to the city. 5 people who felt they have the right to tell Tom what he can and cannot do with his private property. We can only wonder if these folks thought Tom's Diner was such a treasured historic monument worthy of preservation, why didn't they put in their own rival offer? If it was so important, they could have pooled their resources and offered a higher price than the property developer's $5 million and bought the diner themselves. But no, preserving the diner was only worth enough effort to file a petition to block the sale of Tom's property. And this pretty much sums up everything you need to know about property rights in the land of the free. It's bad enough that you don't actually own your real estate. You're really just renting it from the government, paying property taxes each year for the right to use it. But now, with this neo-Bolshevism movement, it's all about community. Everyone else gets to decide what's best and highest use of your asset. If just a tiny handful of loudmouths believe your property has historic value that benefits the community in their sole discretion, then suddenly your whole life can be turned upside down. Just in the same way that other loudmouths feel entitled to decide what gender pronouns you can and cannot use, how much tax you should have to pay, or whether you should be able to use a plastic straw. Tom got lucky. There was enough local media coverage and attention on this issue that the activists ultimately backed down. In other words, these 5 people have graciously allowed Tom to sell his own private property. I mean, this guy's entire retirement dream and the last 20 years of his life's work rested in the hands of some complete strangers. And there are countless other people in similar situation to Tom's who don't turn out so lucky. I want to thank Simon Black for writing today's piece. And if you don't subscribe to Simon's daily newsletter, I highly recommend it. He offers a perspective that few others in the world have. Simon's a smart dude. He's a former U.S. intelligence officer, and he served his country in Iraq during the Iraq War. Given his role in sending military intelligence information back to Washington, he was naturally surprised to see the news about weapons of mass destruction. Simon and his colleagues looked at each other and said, "What are they talking about? What weapons of mass destruction?" And that seminal moment put him on a quest to dig deeper and find the real story behind the story that is so often glossed over in the media or misreported altogether. As you think about that, Have an awesome rest of your day. Go check out the Sovereign Man newsletter. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.